Hello, beautiful people. Today is 8th of July. My name is Sahil, and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, today we'll take a quote from the Abraham Lincoln, the reformer, the modernist, and the one who was instrumental in abolishing the slavery in USA. He says, "No man is good enough to govern another man without that other's consent." Friends, many a time into the society, into the name of superiority or the wisdom, the whims and wills of the common people are exploited. It has happened into the US into the name of black and white conflict. It has happened into the India into the name of the caste domination, and likewise into the other parts also into the world, but into the different names. So guys, here it has been said that no one owes the virtue or authority on another man without his consent. So guys, this particular quote can be used when we are discussing the question onto the caste hegemony or onto the superiority over one class by the other, therefore could be used into the GS paper number 1, social issues. Now friends, the main question that I gave you yesterday. So question says that the scheme for addressing poverty and hunger will not yield result unless supplemented by the strong infrastructural support and by incorporating urban areas into consideration. Now, friends, if we break this particular question, then we can see that the problems are poverty and hunger. Both are associated with each other. And the reform that the question is suggesting is the strong infrastructural support as well as incorporation of the urban areas. So, into the question itself, the problem has been given, the solution has been given. We just need to link it up. Now, as first we talk about the intervention by the strong infrastructural support, then guys, we need to build the strong social infrastructure. Why? Because this infrastructure will involve large number of people into the employment opportunities and thereby will enhance their employability, will give them the better wages, and overall livelihood security will be safeguarded. Then guys, this social infrastructure will include the better health facilities, better education facilities, better road infrastructure, highways. By this particular thing, all the people who had earlier built this infrastructure will get back the enhanced return into the way of a better economic development of the entire region. Then guys, on other front onto the infrastructure is that we need to build infrastructure for particularly the agriculture sector, which should include the better irrigation networks, the better farm gate infrastructure, and the post management harvest care facilities. Now guys, as we know that 60% population of India is involved into the agriculture, and a substantial part of that are the poor and marginal farmers. So guys, in a way, by addressing this particular concern, their livelihood will be enhanced and automatically the poverty will also be reduced. And thirdly, onto this particular line, the food security of India will also be enhanced, which automatically will curtail the problem of hunger. So guys, into this particular thing, where you need to make the linkages. Then one more dimension has been given, that is the incorporation of the urban areas. So guys, onto the lines of MG Narega, we need to start the urban employment guarantee scheme, because we often confined the poverty to the rural areas and we ignore the urban poverty. So by this particular scheme, we can absorb the large urban poors. Their labor can be used to build the municipal infrastructure, and in same way, again the trickle down effect into the urban areas will also start. So guys, these are the dimensions on which you need to be written. Moreover, you can further streamline it with the schemes also which government is starting. So guys, that's all, and now we'll start take up the newspaper analysis. Now friends, let's take up the overview of the entire paper first. So here we can see that the center is laying the new emergency norms for the vaccine trial. So we'll see the issues here. Then guys, the development onto the LAC is going and the army is pulling back. Then guys, CBSE had decided to reduce the syllabus. So we will see that what are the implications here. Then guys, the golden bird wing has been mentioned. So we'll see what are the developments in this regard. Then guys, moving forward into the city, no important news with respect to the UPSC has been given. Then again, nothing such important has been given. Guys, you can see here that the UGSC has said that the exams is again being postponed, and due to this the students are frustrated. However, nothing substantial is into the news. Then again, guys, all the regional news is there, not important for our UPSC exam. And finally, now we are into the editorial section. So this first editorial talks about the disengagement. So we will see that what is mentioned. The second article mentions about the police terror. Then this particular article talks about the nuclear arsenal of China. So we will see in it is the regard. Now this article mentions the entry of the American rapper Kanye West into the presidential elections after the Donald Trump. Guys, nothing important into the article for UPSC. Then guys, here the South China Sea and what should be the India's way forward has been mentioned, so we will see. Now this article mentions about the problems into the Bollywood. Guys, not important for our exam. Now guys, this article mentions the internal problems going on in Ethiopia. Guys, much importance is not there because of a non-strategic angle in the article as well as into the issue. Then moving forward, so friends, we can see that nothing important has been mentioned, only the news with respect to the regional orientation has been given. Then here we can see that the katsa and the USA issue has been mentioned, so we will see this thing. Then guys, again moving forward, nothing important has been given. Then friends, onto the opportunities page also nothing given. Showcase not important for our exam. Now here onto the world's page also nothing important has been given, only the clash and regional issues have been given. Guys, you we had seen earlier that the national security legislation has been passed in China, and now China started to control the Hong Kong. However, with respect to the UPSC, important things are not there. Then guys, moving forward onto the business page, we can see the issue of the equalization levy for the e-commerce, so we will discuss that. Otherwise, there are the corporate news not important for the exam, and onto the sports page also there is nothing important. So guys, that's all, and now let's take up the newspaper analysis. Starting up, friends, here we can see that the central government is coming with the vaccine trial norms. Now see, there are already vaccine trial norms in India, but into the wake of pandemic we need to develop vaccine faster. And if you remember, earlier we had discussed that ICMR even said that they will be launching the vaccine up to 15th of August, after which there was a huge controversy. But still, ICMR has a point that the vaccine should be launched as early as possible, because so many number of people are getting infected and are dying. So into that particular direction, it has been decided that the fast track norms will be declared without compromising into the efficiency and safety. Now already various countries have the provisions that whenever there is an health emergency, they can fast track the new drug trials, and those fast track trials are called as emergency use authorization. So in India also we are now bringing the emergency use authorization. Now the policy on this particular thing will be released by the CDSCO, which stands for the Central Drug Standard Control Organization. Now it is under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and works as the overall national regulator for the pharmaceutical drugs, medical devices, and all these kind of things. Further, if we see the structure, first of all, there is the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, then there is the CDSCO, and below the CDSCO, there is the Drug Controller General of India. And Drug Controller General of India had already gave the approval to the 5 drugs that they can enter into the human trial stage. Now, into the normal human trial stage, there are 3 phases of human trials before the drug is given the principal approval to be launched into the commercial market. Though, even after that, also the people are monitored. Now, usually this process takes long, and into the emergency use authorization, we need to fast track these 3 phases. So, exactly on this fast tracking, the norms will be coming. Now, if we further explore the topic, then how the fast tracking can be made. So guys, in this particular direction, recently WHO suggested the human challenge method or human challenge studies. Now, before understanding this, let's understand the normal situation. See, into the normal human trials, the vaccine is given to a person, then he is left to do his normal day to day activities, and we'll see that whether the naturally a person gets the infection or not. If not, then the vaccine is successful. But guys, contacting the natural infection can take any duration of time. It can take 1 month, it can take 6 months. So exactly because of this particular thing, these phases are delayed. So, in human challenge method, WHO says that we should not wait for him to naturally get the infection. Rather, we should deliberately expose him to the SARS-CoV-2 virus and see whether he is getting impacted, his body is being infected or not. And thus, the entire process will be expedited. But, guys, it is cited to be unethical because there is no treatment, and deliberately exposing a person to a disease will be fatal. Though this is one, but guys, please do remember this, could be important for exam. And the second is that, guys, two phases can go side by side, and in that way also the process will be fast track, and this particular method is being explored into India. So guys, this is all issue surrounded here. That's all. Now we'll go to next. Now, friends, a very brief update. We had seen yesterday that the agreement on LAC has been reached between the India and China, and it has been decided that the armies will be pulling off from the Galwan region. Now, guys, into the Galwan Valley, there is a substantial reduction into the enforcements by the China as well as India. And in this direction, substantial thinning into the Galwan Valley is being carried. Now, guys, the patrolling point number 14 was a flashpoint where the standoff was occurring, and now from here both the armies have retracted back into their respective territories, and a kind of a buffer zone has been established, which is good. But at the same time, it is also a condition that Indian army cannot patrol for 30 days up to PP14, and on this line an ultimate solution is needed to be found. Otherwise we will permanently lose the right to patrol the PP14. However, talks on that thing are also going on. Now, guys, on to the same lines, there is substantial reduction into the hot springs and Gogra region also. But at the Fingers region at the Pangongso Lake, the reduction is not that substantial when compared to the Galwan, and still the agreements on these lines are going on. So, guys, that's all about this particular update, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here we can see a major development as how the pandemic is impacting the education. So, guys, the CBSE has said that the syllabus will be reduced by 30% for ninth to 12th classes for the academic calendar of 2020 and 2021. However, at the same time, it has also been said that when the syllabus is being reduced, it should be noted that the emphasis onto the core concept is not reduced, as it will impact the learning abilities. And even if needed, the syllabus which has been reduced should be explained. However, it will not be the part of the final exam and assessment. So now, friends, after online learning becoming the new normal, the reduction in syllabus has also been seen in order to make the students to cope up with the changed environment and changed strategies. Now, moving forward, if we analyze this move, then guys, it can have the huge implications onto the understanding of the student, as into the syllabus reduction there has been seen that in political theory the concepts such as citizenship, nationalism, secularism, federalism, etc. have been removed. But these topics constitute a very important element into the political science, and likewise such reduction onto the other subjects have also been made. But guys, the teacher's skill is very much important at this particular point of time, because in our education system the inclination is only towards scoring the marks into the exam and not onto the overall understanding. So teacher needs to devise the strategies that when these core things are not having the marks, then how they should still be carried so that the long term understanding of the student can be maintained. So guys, here's a challenge also. However, in this direction, the NCRT has said that they will be providing the adequate strategies as how to teach the reduced curriculum in an effective manner. So, guys, the NCRT's competence also needs to be seen now. But as the matter will unfold, we will see what repercussions will come. But for now, that's all, and now we'll move to next. Now here we can see a news which could be quite relevant for the prelims ecology questions. So golden bird wing, which is a butterfly, has been declared as the largest butterfly of India. And it is majorly found into the northern India, particularly the Himalayan states such as Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, and into the regions of Nepal. Earlier, the record of largest butterfly was held by the southern bird wing, which was identified by a British brigadier, William Harry Evans. Now, guys, William Harry Evans is also important because he also perfected the methodology on whose basis the size of the butterfly should be determined. So now this new butterfly has been given the status onto the basis of the size of the wingspan of the butterfly, and particularly the female butterflies have the large wingspan and the males don't have that much big. And guys, at the same time, the smallest butterfly status has been given to the quaker butterfly. So that's all, and now we'll move to next. Now we are into the tutorial section, and here we have clubbed two articles which are talking about the India China rivalries. Now, as we had seen that the disengagement has begun at the LAC sector, so there are two types of challenges. One are the short term challenges which have been discussed here, and other are the long term challenges. Now on to the immediate front, the challenges with respect to the troop withdrawal from LAC should be kept in mind, because guys, earlier on to the Galwan clashes, the clash happened when the troop were withdrawing from the region, and again in this time such thing should not happen. Moreover, the diplomatic statement which has been issued by India as well as Beijing, though they indicate the tranquility, but the language is such that Beijing is still keeping the doors open for the confrontation if their policies are not abided. So through diplomatic channels it should be explored that no undue expectation should be kept by the Beijing, and India's sovereignty as well as control over LAC should also not be minimized. After that, the working mechanism as declared by the special representative level talks between the National Security Advisor and Foreign Minister of China should be done in such a way that India doesn't loses any tactical advantage. For example, today only we had seen that for 30 days India cannot patrol into the PP14 region. So into the working mechanism, it should be seen that this particular thing should not become permanent. After that, it should also be noted down that the end points up to the withdrawal should also be noted so that there is no reoccupation by the Chinese side. And finally, now India has started a new economic policy against China, such as banning the 59 Chinese app, then the new set of FDI rules for Chinese investment, and likewise. So now India also need to reconsider whether it will be continuing such economic policy of sanctions or it will be relieving it. And finally, as the bilateral talks between the Indian Prime Minister as well as the Chinese President will begin, it also needs to be communicated very directly that the status quo should be restored as it was earlier. So, guys, these are various short term challenges. However, into the long term, the growing nuclear arsenal of China also stands to be a concern. Now, talking about nuclear arsenal, see, China is first of all not at all concerned about India, because China's enhancement is directed towards the USA. Guys, USA has a multi-layer nuclear defense capabilities in terms of launchability, in terms of range, etc. For example, it has a well-developed nuclear triad where the land-based nuclear system, the water-based, and the sky-based are ready and are much advanced than the China's own nuclear triad capabilities. So basically, the capabilities of USA instill an apprehension into the China, because China wants to claim the status of next superpower, and therefore China is enhancing the nuclear arsenal. For example, it is actively developing the multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle based missiles, and the most prominent example of such type of missile is DF-31A. Now guys, the DF-31A is an intercontinental ballistic missile which has range of more than 4000 km and has very precise strike capabilities. Moreover, it is also developing the medium range ballistic missiles as well as the short range ballistic missiles, which can be tipped with any warhead, that is the conventional warhead or the nuclear warhead. And as we are talking about the nuclear warheads, here there is a huge concern. First of all, guys, we need to have the fissile materials, for example, the plutonium, which will be used into the nuclear missiles. And in terms of the fissile material, China has estimated 2.9 metric ton of weapon grade plutonium. Now, guys, if we compare it with India, then India has just 0.15 ton of the weapon grade plutonium. So, in comparison, you can see that how much fissile material has been amassed by the China. And as it is used into the warheads, similarly the number of warhead is also increasing in China. In 2019, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, there were 290 warheads, which increased to 320 in 2020. And this trend is disturbing because at the same time, according to CIPRI, the nuclear warhead of USA as well as Russia are declining. So guys, proportionately China's rise is happening to be a concern. Now, first of all, China is shrugging away any aggressive stance because according to China, they had already installed the moratorium onto the hot nuclear testing since 1996. Guys, when we talk about the nuclear testing, then the Lop Nur site of China is notorious as till 1996 there have been more than 45 nuclear tests here in all possible circumstances. Now, the moratorium has been imposed here, but still the China is conducting the miniaturized lab test, and on those basis is making the rapid strides into the nuclear capabilities. Now, guys, as moratorium has been imposed, and at the same time, China is also the member of the UNSC, the world community, is not able to dictate that how the China's behavior should be controlled. As just recently, the Global Times of China has reported that the China is aiming to build the arsenal of 1,000 warheads into the times to come. Now, friends, earlier we had seen that the China's concern is the USA, and the China is making itself ready against US. So, in mean course of time, automatically China stands much more powerful than the India's nuclear defense capabilities. And not only the nuclear, but the conventional armed strength of China is also much larger than India. And as India is sandwiched on China, in between the China on one hand and the Pakistan on other hand, the challenges of India are immense. Moreover, guys, Pakistan even has the more number of warheads than India. For example, India has 150, whereas Pakistan has 160. So both the sides, the consequential or the existential crisis for the India are much bigger. And here China particularly has already installed the intercontinental ballistic missile into the Xinjiang region, which lies very much near to the Aksai Chin. And guys, from the Xinjiang, the 4,000 range kilometer missile can cover the entire India. Thus, right now, it is being said that India should reconsider the defense strategies against China. And guys, any skirmish or any standoff, even if it occurs onto the LSC, then it can have the well nuclear intended consequences. So, the government should reduce the escalation as well as standoff as early as possible, and should not make a mistake to ignore the capabilities of China. And on the same lines, onto the long term strategy should also work as how the deterrence can be further built. So guys, that's all about this particular article. Now we'll move to next. Friends, this particular article talks about the South China Sea dispute and the strategies of the nearby countries. Now, guys, the South China Sea controversy starts from the China's hegemony and opportunistic attitude into the region. Now, first of all, South China Sea is important for two reasons. Number one, it has been said that there are much important mineral resources into the sea. Therefore, everybody wants a share. And secondly, it is a very strategic point because it is a major shipping lane, and thus it is important for the free navigation of the seas. Now, guys, China says that entire South China Sea belongs to China, and it stakes its claim on two bases. Number one, onto the basis of Spratly Island. Now, guys, according to the United Nations Convention on Law of the Seas, the region up to 200 km from the country's baseline or up to the continental shelf is called as the EEZ, that is the exclusive economic zone of that particular country. And in EEZ, the country had a right that it can explore the minerals as well as resources. So China says that the Spratly Island belong to the China, and from 200 km the entire region is of China. Second claim it makes onto the basis of the 9 dash line, which says that into the historical agreements all the region up to the 9 dash line is belonging to the China. Therefore, the entire South China Sea is also theirs. Now, in this particular direction, the Philippines had started a dispute against the China and filed a petition into the violation of UN clause. And the Permanent Court of Arbitration had said that the China's claims are illegal and there is no legal basis for the 9 dash line. And secondly, it has been said that the Spratly Islands cannot be considered as a full-fledged island, and therefore EEZ rights onto the basis of Spratly cannot be given to the China. And as usual, China has negated the verdict given by the PCA and has called it as a political move. And friends, China has not only refused the verdict, rather, it is carrying the extensive construction activity into the region, harming the ecology, exploring the resources, and has even drawn into the confrontation. And given the economic and military stature of China, no country, including the Philippines, had challenged the verdict. And now, guys, China says that we all will settle the dispute under the bilateral principles agreed into the ASEAN. Now, even the countries are also trying to bring some result by bilateral means into the ASEAN, but actually behind the scenes, they are just buying the time so that collectively they can challenge the China's hegemony. And in this respect, the countries have signed various defense deals and agreements with various countries. For example, Vietnam is adding the Kilo class Russian origin submarines to its navy. Then France, Germany, and Netherlands are also supplying the class stealth ship, formidable ships to Singapore. Then, guys, the patrol boats are being provided to the Brunei Darussalam, and Japan is also partially funding the upgradation of the Indonesian coast guards. And similarly, the Indonesia and Philippines are exploring the procurement of the BrahMos missile from India. And as the capabilities are being built, the countries are now directly started to challenge the Chinese hegemony also. For example, into the 2020 ASEAN summit, the response of the neighboring countries was not mute, rather they were very much vocal against the Chinese aggressionist policies, and Philippines and Indonesia have openly condemned it. Now, guys, if we talk about the implication of this entire issue on India, then we can see that, guys, India has always talked about the extended neighborhood which spans from the Mediterranean Sea to the South China Sea and from Suez to Shanghai. Therefore, the entire region's stability ensures India's stability. And, guys, particularly the South China Sea has economic angle also with respect to India, because India's major merchandise export as well as import passes from the South China Sea, and India, looking forward towards its Make in India 2.0, needs a free passage. So, guys, a ready made way forward has been given into the article. Point number one, it has been said that India must continue to actively pursue its defense diplomacy. Defense diplomacy is that onto the bilateral terms you are building the capabilities. And, guys, in this direction, the military training, military exercises, and exchange at a higher level should be taken. Moreover, at the same time, the humanitarian assistance, the disaster relief activities, and at the same time there should also be the shared or joint patrolling of the Malacca Strait, which is a strategic point for the shipments as they come from South China Sea to the Indian Ocean. Moreover, guys, the comprehensive strategic partnerships India had already signed with the Australia, Japan, Indonesia, USA, as well as Vietnam. And now it is a time that they should be extended to countries such as Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Singapore, so that a joint military action can be taken if needed into the times to come. Moreover, guys, India had always ignored the capabilities of the Andaman and Nicobar Command. So there the capacity should be built because these islands could act as an extended base of India into the Indian Ocean. So guys, the tri-service capability in Andaman and Nicobar could be enhanced. And in this particular direction, it has also been said that the neglection of this region can only be termed as criminal. So friends, any question on to the regional security South China Sea, please write these points. You will be getting a good leverage here. So friends, that's all about this particular article. Now we'll move to next. Now, friends, this particular article talks about the police terror that has been unleashed into the Tamil Nadu. Now, guys, this article is very much generalistic and it is very outrightly, vehemently criticizing the police as a terror force. However, such negative answer we can't use in our general studies exam. Rather, on to the 2nd of July and 4th of July, we had extensively discussed all the dimensions associated with the police brutalities, particularly into the 4th of July. We had discussed the ethical angle, and on 2nd July, the police reform, judicial reforms, and the way forward has been seen. So, guys, I'll highly recommend that please refer to these articles on to this comprehensive coverage. Now, friends, here we can see that the Katsa has been mentioned. First of all, guys, before going into the news, let's go into the background of the Katsa Act. So, it stands for the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanction Act and is a law which has been passed into the USA. Now, guys, America believes that there are large number of adversaries who are just working against the USA, and the three are the most important here. That is the Iran. It believes that Iran's nuclear stockpile can be a threat to the USA. Then the second is the Russia. So guys, Russia is a cold war enemy and still USA has apprehensions. And the third is the North Korea because of its opaque structure and autocratic regime. So, guys, it has been said that full fledged sanctions will be imposed on these three countries, and further, if any other country will involve into the trade activities with these countries, those countries could also be slapped with the sanctions, the primary sanctions and the secondary sanctions. And now, guys, in this background, what happened in 2018, the India signed the S-400 Triumph deal with the Russia. So S-400 Triumph is a missile defense system which India direly needs in order to enhance the defense capabilities. So, guys, at that point of time, USA had shown the apprehension against India's move and has warning for the sanctions. Now, if you remember, just last week we had seen that the Defense Acquisition Council had just cleared a defense deal worth rupees 39,000 crore, and here the procurements were to be carried from the Russia for the procurement of the MiG-29 aircrafts along with the indigenization such as by the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. So guys, in this particular background, the USA has warned that India is carrying the trade deal with Russia, and as Russia has been covered under the CATSA, India can also face the sanction. Now, India was hopeful that USA will understand that right now the situation at the LAC is not good, and as an preemptive measure to safeguard the territory in LAC, India is taking such deal. So guys, in that particular direction, a new irritant between the USA and India has came. Though USA has said that every deal under the purview of CATSA is dealt onto the case to case basis, and further USA will be looking into this particular issue, and it was not specific to the LAC at the present deal, rather it is a generalistic reminder to the India. However, we don't need to go into the technical complexities. Rather, you need to know one particular dimensions between the India-US irritants. So, friends, that's all about this particular issue. And now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here we can see that the government has said that the deadline for depositing the equalization levy for the foreign e-commerce firms will not be extended. Now, guys, before understanding this issue, let's go into the background. So, earlier you might have heard about the GAFA tax, or called as the Google tax, or simply called as the equalization levy. Now, guys, equalization levy means, see, there are some foreign companies which are doing business in India. For example, they are providing the online advertisements to other business. Suppose you go onto the Google and you searched there the best mobile phone in India, and there an ad from the Samsung came. So, guys, what has happened behind the door? Samsung and Google had came an agreement from, and here the Samsung is taking the advertisement services from Google, and in consideration Samsung might have also paid to the Google. So the equalization levy says that when there are business to business transactions for the advertisements and such kind of things, then the person who is making the payment needs to withhold the 6% as equalization levy, and that money is needed to be submitted to the government. So, guys, here we are taxing the foreign giants who are receiving the payments from India for the advertisements. However, this year the equalization levy has also been extended to the foreign e-commerce firms, and their rate of equalization levy is 2%. So all the online firms who are providing the services such as online delivery of goods, services, etc., need to pay such extra 2% of tax. And for that particular thing, the deadline is not being extended, it has been said. Now, guys, the e-commerce firm says that they are new and they don't know the formalities as well as the compliances, so they want an extended time. So, guys, here we only need to keep in mind that equalization levy is being installed or is being made onto the foreign companies who are working in India. Earlier, the equalization levy was only for the online advertisements. Now it has also been extended to the foreign e-commerce, and after that there are other differences also. For example, into the case of Google and Facebook or the online advertisements, transactions are taxed from B to B, that is business to business, and the one who is paying, he needs to withhold the 6% and needs to submit to the government. And whereas into the case of e-commerce, the business to consumer transactions are taxed, and here the payments are to be made by the business. For example, if you're buying from the Amazon, then Amazon needs to pay. So I hope you will keep all these things into your mind. However, the extension and all these things are not that much important. So that's all, and now we'll move to the question section. Friends, please pause the video and try to answer the question. So first question is with respect to the Zardozi art. Please consider the correct code. Question number 2 is with respect to the National Art World Thematic Mapping Organization. Please consider the right code. Question number 3 is from Art and Culture History. Please consider the correct statement with respect to the Indian systems of philosophy. Question number 4 is with respect to the Periodic Labor Survey. Please identify the correct code. Now, friends, today's main question is from GS paper number 2 IR. The question says that India's extended neighborhood policy from Suez to Shanghai cannot overlook disputes brewing in South China Sea. Suggest what should be India's approach with regard to South China Sea. It is a 10 marker question, right? And tomorrow we'll discuss the framework of this particular question. So, guys, that's all. I hope you're liking our initiative. Thank you so much.